to show y'all how serious I am, I pulled up in front of a church just to give this speech, this lecture, or whatever else you want to call it. Did you know that if you sat Jesus down today and asked him how to get saved, he probably wouldn't even know what you were talking about? We spent 2,000 years building a religion around a word he almost never used to solve a problem he wasn't even trying to fix. We're taught that salvation is a legal contract to get us into heaven after we die. But the word Jesus actually used for save was sozo. In his world, that meant buying a ticket to the afterlife. It meant to be made whole. You hear that? In Jesus' world, Jesus actually used the word save. They said sozo. In his world, that didn't mean buying a ticket to the afterlife. It meant to be made whole. It meant healing, rescue, and restoration right here, right now. When Jesus told people, your faith has saved you, he wasn't talking about the souls going to the clouds. He was talking about the blind eyes seeing or the broken lives being mended right now in that moment. He was a healer, not a life insurance agent. But here's the part they don't want you to realize. This shift from healing to salvation wasn't an accident. It was a calculated, malicious move by the elite. We can call them the Roman Empire as well. When the state took over Christianity, they realized they couldn't control a population that believed the kingdom of God was already inside of them. You hear me? You can't take over a population that knows the kingdom of God is inside of them. If you are already divine, you don't need a king, a pope, or an emperor to grant you access to God. You see that? That is the biggest finesse in the world. If you knew that you were already divine, you don't need none of this shit. You are already divine. So they flipped the script. They weaponized salvation to divide and conquer. They created a pay-to-play spiritual system. Example, tithes. By convincing you that you were born a sinner, headed for eternal torture, they made themselves the only ones with the cure. And look at our life today. You can see we got a church on every street corner in some communities, and ain't shit cure. It's more broken than ever. They moved God from your hearts to a distant throne and put themselves in the middle to connect the toll. They traded Jesus' message of liberation for a system of subjugation. Check the receipts. In Luke 17:21, Jesus literally says, the kingdom of God is within you. He used the Greek word entos, which means inside or among. But the salvation doctrine we're taught today says the exact opposite. And you think that shit happened by accident? No, it did not, because they understood how powerful these words were. It says, you are born broken, and you need an external bridge. Jesus' actual message was, stop looking up at the sky and start looking inside your very own heart. If you want to see what the empire suppressed, look at the Gospel of Thomas. In it, Jesus mocks the idea of salvation. He says, if those who lead you say, look, the kingdom is in the sky, then the birds will get there before you. He concludes by saying, the kingdom is within you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known. To the early Gnostics, the problem wasn't sin. It was ignorance. Let me hit you again. The problem wasn't sin. It was ignorance, which is actually the curse from God, the lack of knowledge. But an awakened person is impossible to rule. That's why the empire burned these books and labeled them hearsay. They didn't want you to have a teacher. They wanted you to have a master, which is why they incorporated parts into the word that says, respect your master, and you know all that shit about slavery. The early Hebrew mindset didn't even have a concept for the eternal hell used to scare people in submission today. When Jesus spoke of Gehenna, he was talking about a literal, physical smoking trash dump outside Jerusalem, a metaphor for a wasted life, not an afterlife furnace we call hell today. We took a Jewish teacher's metaphors for social justice and mental clarity and turned them into a Greek-Roman myth about escaping a fiery underworld. We turned a manual for living into a passport for dying. Even in Psalms 82:6, it says, you are gods. You are all sons of the Most High. Jesus even quoted that in John 10:34. He wasn't claiming to be the only child of God. He was trying to show us that we all are God. God is in us all. The kingdom of God is within. The salvation we teach today is a cage built out of mistranslations and power moves. It's a psychological operation designed to keep us feeling small, separate, and scared. It tells you that you're a sinner in the hands of an angry God so that you'll stay a subject in the hands of an angry government. But the oldest texts tell a different story. You are a spark of the divine that simply forgot its origin. We don't need to be saved. We need to be awakened. We've been so focused on getting into heaven that we completely ignored the man who was trying to get heaven into us. Like, share, and subscribe for more content, because we bringing it to you all year long.